Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman formed one of the most dominant trios in NBA history, but their success was never built on friendship. During their playing days with the Chicago Bulls, the three rarely bonded on a personal level. Their relationship was strictly professional.
I don't have to have a job to speak to people. My job is to correlate and understand how people work and do one thing and make people believe to the fact that you belong there. Me and Scottie and Michael never had a conversation in 3 years in Chicago. Well, I didn't think it was important. I thought it was important for me to go there and win.
Driven by winning rather than emotional connection, practices were intense and often silent, with little casual conversation. Each player understood his role, and that understanding mattered more than chemistry. The locker room functioned like a workplace, not a family. Championships were the only common goal that held them together. Michael Jordan led the team through fear, pressure, and relentless standards. He demanded perfection and wasn't afraid to criticize or confront teammates publicly. Scottie Pippen respected Jordan's greatness, but often felt overshadowed and undervalued, especially due to contract issues and lack of recognition. Dennis Rodman, meanwhile, operated on a completely different wavelength, unpredictable and rebellious. Jordan didn't trust Rodman personally, and Pippen didn't connect with him emotionally. Yet all three tolerated each other because their skills were irreplaceable. Communication between them existed mainly on the court. Defensive switches, rotations, and play calls were constant, but emotional conversations were rare. Off the court, they lived separate lives and avoided unnecessary interaction. Rodman was given freedom to disappear, skip practices, and break rules because he delivered elite defense and rebounding. Jordan accepted this imbalance because results mattered more than discipline. Pippen stayed quiet, internalizing frustration, while continuing to perform at an elite level. Phil Jackson was the key figure who kept the trio from imploding. He understood that forcing friendship would backfire. Instead, he allowed distance and managed egos through structure and trust. Jackson let Rodman be Rodman, challenged Jordan to lead without complete control, and reassured Pippen of his importance. This balance prevented tension from becoming open conflict. The team thrived not because they were close, but because they were controlled. In the end, the Bulls dynasty proved that unity doesn't always mean closeness. Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman didn't need personal bonds to dominate the league. They respected roles, accepted tension, and sacrificed comfort for success. The silence between them wasn't dysfunction, it was discipline. Their story shows that greatness can be built on pressure, not peace. And that's what made their dynasty both legendary and complicated. The tension between the trio was most visible during practices. Jordan treated practice like a battlefield, pushing teammates to their limits. Pippen followed quietly, often absorbing criticism without public response. Rodman approached practice with indifference, conserving energy for games. This contrast frustrated Jordan, but also intrigued him. The lack of harmony created constant pressure. That pressure sharpened the team. Game nights revealed how different personalities could still align. Jordan dominated scoring, demanding attention. From defenses, Pippen operated as the glue, defending multiple positions and facilitating offense. Rodman attacked rebounds with unmatched ferocity. They rarely celebrated together. Instead, they returned to huddles with focus. Their connection was functional, not emotional. Rodman's lifestyle often created silent resentment. His disappearances and off-court antics were tolerated but never embraced. Jordan believed discipline was non-negotiable, yet exceptions were made for Rodman. Pippen noticed the double standard, but said little. This imbalance created unspoken tension. Winning masked the cracks. Media pressure amplified the internal distance. Jordan was the global face of the NBA, while Pippen felt like a secondary figure despite his importance. Rodman attracted headlines for controversy rather than performance. Interviews rarely included praise among the trio. Each spoke about the team, not each other. The silence became noticeable. Leadership roles were clearly divided. Jordan ruled through dominance and confrontation. Pippen led by example and intelligence. Rodman led through effort and chaos. None attempted to overlap roles. This separation prevented power struggles. Clarity replaced camaraderie. In close playoff games, the tension intensified but never fractured. Missed assignments led to glares, not arguments. Mistakes were remembered, not forgiven. The stakes were too high for emotion. Each player internalized pressure differently, yet all responded with performance. Phil Jackson's philosophy allowed controlled individuality. He encouraged mindfulness and trust rather than forced unity. Team meetings focus on purpose, not feelings. This approach kept egos from colliding. Distance was treated as balance, not weakness. The system held. After championships, celebration was brief. There were no long embraces or shared joy. Jordan left quickly, Pippen remained reserved, and Rodman drifted away. The moment passed without bonding. Winning was expected, not cherished. That mindset defined them. Years later, reflections revealed lingering wounds. Pippen expressed bitterness. Over respect and recognition, Rodman admitted he never felt truly accepted. Jordan acknowledged the tension, but defended his methods. The truth became clearer with time. Success had a cost. Ultimately, the Bulls dynasty was built on controlled conflict. Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman proved that harmony isn't required for greatness. Respect, role acceptance, and pressure were enough. Their silence spoke louder than friendship, and that silence delivered history as the Bulls dynasty evolved. The controlled conflict between Jordan and Pippen became familiar, but Dennis Rodman remained the unpredictable variable. His presence intensified the existing tension rather than easing it. While Jordan enforced standards and Pippen absorbed pressure, Rodman operated outside emotional boundaries. This contrast didn't fracture the team, but it reshaped it. The dynasty adjusted around Rodman instead of forcing him to adapt. That adjustment changed everything. Rodman's story fit perfectly into the Bulls' environment of silence and discipline. Even though he seemed to reject both, he didn't engage in locker room politics or power struggles. Instead, he disappeared into his role. Rebounding wasn't just effort for him, it was identity. In a team built on control, Rodman brought chaos that opponents couldn't predict or prepare for. The distance between Rodman and his teammates wasn't hostility, it was mutual survival. Jordan knew pushing Rodman emotionally could destroy the balance. Pippen understood that Rodman's value came from freedom, not structure, so they kept their distance. That space allowed Rodman to function without pressure to conform. Silence became protection. Rodman's off-court behavior tested the Bulls' patience, but it also exposed the limits of traditional leadership. Phil Jackson recognized that Rodman couldn't be managed like anyone else. He allowed Rodman to vanish, express himself, and return on his own terms. That trust was rare. It kept the team intact when it should have fractured. On the court, Rodman communicated through relentless energy. Every rebound was a statement. Every defensive stop was a response to doubt. Jordan and Pippen didn't need conversation to understand that. Rodman earned respect not through words, but through sacrifice. His effort closed the emotional distance when nothing else could dot as championships piled up. Rodman remained emotionally detached from the celebration. Winning didn't anchor him, it freed him temporarily. The silence after victories mirrored the silence during the season. There were no embraces, no speeches, just acknowledgement. That was enough. In the end, Rodman's story completes the Bulls' dynasty narrative. Jordan was the will, Pippen was the balance, and Rodman was the disruption that opponents couldn't solve. Their lack of closeness wasn't weakness, it was design. The dynasty didn't succeed despite Rodman's chaos. It succeeded because it learned how to live with this story of Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman proves that greatness doesn't always come from harmony. Their dynasty was built on tension, discipline, and unspoken understanding rather than friendship. Each man carried his own struggles, his own ego, and his own purpose. Yet when the lights came on, those differences disappeared into performance. The silence between them became strength. What looked broken from the outside was perfectly balanced on the inside. In the end, the Bulls' legacy isn't just about 6 championships, it's about controlled chaos, Jordan's relentless drive, Pippen's quiet sacrifice, and Rodman's wild unpredictability created something history couldn't ignore. They never needed to like each other to change the game. They only needed to trust the roles they played. And that truth remains one of the most powerful lessons the NBA has ever taught. The Lakers vs. Rockets game in 1999 was already tense before the fight even began. Both teams were physical, and the matchup between Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley was a battle of strength and pride.
I was always envious of Charles because he got all the calls. So the day he hit me with the ball, I was like, good, now I'm about to knock him out.
Oh, there's a swing by O'Neal. And they get a blue on the kick.
Every post-up was aggressive, and neither player showed any intention of backing down. The arena atmosphere felt hostile, with fans sensing something could explode. This wasn't just a regular season game, it felt personal. The dominant personalities were colliding head-on. The stage was perfectly set for chaos. The moment that triggered everything came during a hard post-up in the paint. Barkley aggressively backed Shaq down, using his body to create space. Shaq responded with equal force, refusing to give ground. The physicality crossed into frustration within seconds. Barkley, visibly irritated, suddenly grabbed the basketball. What happened next shocked everyone watching. He hurled the ball directly at Shaq's head. That single act instantly ignited the situation. Shaq reacted without hesitation, charging straight at Barkley in a fit of rage. The crowd gasped as one of the league's most dominant centers lunged forward. Barkley didn't retreat either, standing his ground as Shaq swung punches. Barkley swung back, and the confrontation turned into a full-blown fight. Players rushed in from all directions. What should have been a whistle turned into total chaos. Referees were helpless in the first few seconds. Coaches ran onto the court, desperately trying to separate the two stars. Teammates grabbed jerseys, arms, and shoulders to prevent further punches. The benches cleared as confusion spread across the floor. Security personnel moved closer, preparing for the worst. The game had completely stopped. All focus was on the violent clash at center court. What made the fight even more shocking was who was involved. Charles Barkley was a veteran nearing the end of his career, known for toughness but also leadership. Shaquille O'Neal was the most dominant force in the league, a global superstar. Seeing the Hall of Famers throwing punches was unprecedented. This wasn't a fight between role players. It was elite-level chaos, broadcast live to the world. The NBA reacted swiftly once order was restored. Officials ejected both Barkley and Shaq from the game immediately. The league launched an investigation into the incident. Suspensions and heavy fines followed soon after. The NBA wanted to send a clear message that this level of violence was unacceptable. The penalties reflected the seriousness of the moment. It became one of the most disciplined altercations of that era. Media coverage exploded in the days that followed. Sports shows replayed the incident nonstop, analyzing every angle. Debates erupted over who was more at fault. Some blamed Barkley for throwing the ball, while others pointed to Shaq's violent response. Fans took sides passionately. The incident dominated headlines far beyond basketball circles. It became a cultural sports moment. The fight also exposed the raw competitiveness of late 90s NBA basketball. This was an era where physicality ruled and emotions often boiled over. Trash talk, hard fouls, and pride fueled rivalries nightly. Barkley and Shaq were products of that environment. Their clash symbolized how intense the league had become. It was ugly, but it was real, and it showed how thin the line was between competition and violence. Interestingly, the fight didn't, and their rivalry it transformed it. Years later, when Barkley and Shaq became TV analysts together, the incident added weight to their arguments. Their on-air clashes felt more authentic because of their history. Viewers knew their tension was real. That fight became the foundation of their complicated relationship. It followed them long after retirement. Today, the 1999 Barkley vs. Shaq fight remains one of the most iconic moments in NBA history. It's replayed in documentaries, highlight reels, and debates about league toughness. The image of Barkley throwing the ball and Shaq charging forward is unforgettable. It represents an era when emotions ran unchecked. More than just a fight, it became a defining symbol of NBA intensity, and decades later, it still hasn't been forgotten. Years after their playing careers ended, the rivalry between Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley found a new stage on Inside the NBA. What was supposed to be lighthearted analysis quickly turned into verbal warfare. Their shared history made every exchange feel loaded with tension, unlike scripted debates. This felt raw and unpredictable. Viewers could sense there was real emotion behind the jokes. The show became must-watch television because of their chemistry. Their feud was reborn in front of millions. Shaq often led the attacks by targeting Barkley's lack of championship rings. He repeatedly reminded Chuck that rings matter, using this for titles as a weapon. The comments were delivered with humor, but the edge was undeniable. Shaq knew exactly where to strike. Each jab was designed to undermine Barkley's credibility. As an analyst, the audience laughed, but the tension was real. It became Shaq's favorite argument. Barkley never stayed silent. He fired back by questioning Shaq's work ethic during his career. Barkley accused Shaq of wasting potential by showing up out of shape. He argued that Shaq should have won even more championships. These comments hit a nerve. Barkley wasn't attacking Shaq's talent, he was attacking his discipline. The debate shifted from rings to responsibility. As the exchanges continued, the tone sometimes escalated beyond jokes. Voices were raised and body language changed. Viewers noticed moments when laughter stopped and frustration surfaced. Co-hosts Ernie Johnson and Kenny Smith often stepped in to calm things down. There were times when the studio felt uncomfortable. That discomfort made it compelling. Fans could tell this wasn't manufactured drama. One of the most infamous moments came when Shaq abruptly walked off the set after a heated exchange. Barkley had questioned Shaq's leadership, and Shaq took it personally. The live broadcast captured the awkward silence that followed. Social media exploded within seconds. Clips went viral instantly. That moment proved the feud was deeper than entertainment. Despite the tension, the rivalry elevated the show's popularity. Ratings soared whenever Barkley and Shaq clashed. Fans tuned in not just for basketball analysis, but for the unpredictability, the arguments felt honest and unscripted. That authenticity separated inside the NBA from other sports programs. The feud became a core feature, not a flaw. Shaq's sensitivity became a recurring theme in Barkley's criticisms. Barkley often mocked Shaq for reacting emotionally to comments. Shaq, in return, accused Barkley of jealousy. Their back and forth mirrored old locker room arguments. It felt like the former competitors still fighting for respect. The studio became their new court. Interestingly, their feud also showed moments of mutual respect. Occasionally, Shaq would acknowledge Barkley's greatness. Barkley would admit Shaq was the most dominant big man ever. These brief moments made the insults feel more layered. It wasn't pure hatred, it was competitive pride. That complexity kept audiences invested. The media war also sparked endless fan debates online. Social media platforms became battlegrounds for Team Shaq and Team Chuck. Clips were analyzed frame by frame. Quotes were turned into memes. Their feud transcended television. It became part of basketball culture itself. In the end, the Barkley versus Shaq media war redefined sports television. It proved that authenticity, even when uncomfortable, connects with audiences. Their arguments were messy, loud, and emotional, but real. What began as an old rivalry turned into legendary TV moments. Inside the NBA wasn't just a show anymore. It was a stage for unresolved history, and fans couldn't look away, even decades after their playing days ended. The rivalry between Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal refuses to fade away. Any discussion about championships, dominance, or the greatest big men in NBA history instantly brings their names together. Shaq still leans on his rings as the ultimate argument, while Barkley counters with honesty, impact, and individual brilliance. Their history ensures that no debate stays neutral for long. Fans know exactly how each man will respond before the words are even spoken, yet they still listen. That's the power of a rivalry that never truly died. What makes this feud timeless is how personal and unresolved it remains. Neither Barkley nor Shaq ever fully conceded ground to the other. Pride continues to shape their opinions, even in casual conversations. Their arguments feel less like entertainment and more like unfinished business. Generations of fans have grown up watching the rivalry evolve from the court to the studio. It has become a living piece of NBA folklore. The debate keeps renewing itself with every era. In the end, the Barkley versus Shaq rivalry proves that greatness isn't judged by stats alone, it's fueled by ego, respect, and lasting emotion. Some battles don't end with retirement, they simply change arenas. What began as physical dominance turned into verbal warfare, and finally into legacy debate. The game moved on, but their rivalry didn't. It remains a reminder that true competition leaves scars that never fully heal, and that's why this story will always be remembered. The NBA world was shaken when Scottie Pippen recently sat down and dropped a bombshell about his relationship with Michael Jordan, saying bluntly that they were never really friends and haven't even spoken in years, a revelation that stunned fans who grew up idolizing one of basketball's most dominant duos. Behind the 6 championships and legendary chemistry on the court was a reality very different off it, a story of respect in competition, but distance in connection to truth. Pippen didn't hold back from sharing. Today on Dunk's Legacy, we break down exactly what he said, where the rift began, and why 2 of the greatest players in NBA history still can't seem to bridge the gap between teammate and friend.
When's the last time you and Michael spoke?
Right around the pandemic.
How many times did just you and Michael have dinner in Chicago? Chicago has a lot of great... Scottie, stop it. Scottie, stop it.
Never.
After dropping that bombshell about not being friends, Pippen didn't hold back when talking about how their relationship deteriorated in recent years. Unlike the seamless synergy they showed on the court, Pippen has repeatedly said that off the court they were never close, and that reality only became clearer as time went on. What fans saw for decades was legendary team chemistry, but what Pippen has revealed is a professional relationship that never fully crossed into real friendship. One of the key flashpoints in the feud came with Pippen's memoir Unguarded, where he opened up about long-standing frustrations, including feeling overshadowed by Jordan's star power and the way history has remembered their Bulls dynasty. In that book, Pippen admitted that he and Jordan simply never developed a true off-court bond, and that, despite sharing 6 championships, there was emotional distance between them that never healed. Basketball work, Pippen has also taken aim at how The Last Dance documentary portrayed their time together, feeling that the series overly glorified Jordan while giving insufficient credit to his own contributions on the court. That perception of imbalance angered Pippen, and he said that watching the doc made him feel both hurt and underappreciated. further widening the gap between them. In his memoir and in interviews, Pippen even used strong language to describe moments he felt were disrespectful, pointing fingers at what he saw as moments of selfishness and lack of acknowledgement. At one point, he called behaviors from Jordan's camp selfish, pushing back against past criticisms aimed at him for things like delaying surgery or asking for a trade. The tension wasn't just about perception, there were specific personal moments that caused real wounds. Pippen once expressed deep regret over not reaching out to Jordan after the tragic murder of Jordan's father, admitting that it was a missed opportunity that still weighs on him and may have cemented the distance between them. Jordan reportedly even tried to reach out after The Last Dance aired, sending Pippen a text message asking if they could talk, acknowledging that there was pain between them, and offering a chance to clear the air. Pippen wrote about that exchange, highlighting how infrequent their communication really was even in that moment. Despite these attempts at dialogue, Pippen has said in recent interviews that he believes the relationship is beyond repair. He has described Jordan as very difficult to deal with, suggesting that their personalities and different life paths contributed to an estrangement that simply never healed. Pippen has also taken personal responsibility for some of the breakdown, admitting he missed opportunities to bridge the gap. But even that acknowledgement hasn't led to reconciliation. For him, the lack of closeness isn't something he dwells on daily, but it still hurts when he reflects on what might have been. Fans around the world were stunned when Pippen said that they hadn't ever been close, given how seamlessly they played together and how their partnership delivered 6 NBA titles. That contrast between on-court excellence and off-court distance is at the heart of the recent controversy. Some former teammates have weighed in, noting that while Jordan and Pippen were perfect complements on the court, a two-way juggernaut, the personalities that made them strong competitors didn't necessarily make them close friends. In everyday life, critics of Pippen have pointed out that expressing bitterness over perception and credit may have fueled some of the tension, while others say his honesty provides long-needed context to a relationship fans once idealized. Whatever the reason, the estrangement is no secret anymore. In the years since their final season together, Pippen has sometimes expressed frustration about always being asked about Jordan, saying it gets exhausting to constantly revisit a partnership that, in reality, had many unresolved tensions. The public narrative of Jordan and Pippen, best friends forever, has shifted dramatically into teammates who dominated but never bonded, and that shift has become a major talking point in the basketball world. Despite all the tension, both men's legacies as two of the greatest players in NBA history remain intact, but the personal rift has become a reminder that greatness on the court doesn't always translate the harmony off it. Some voices close to the game have even urged reconciliation, noting that age and time should soften past wounds, especially given what they achieved together. But so far, Pippen's frankness and Jordan's silence have kept the divide wide. The story of their relationship now stands as a complex blend of triumph, frustration, respect, and regret, a legacy that's as compelling off the court as it was on it, and a reminder that even the best partnerships can fracture once the games are over. Even though Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan's relationship may never be fully repaired, their story remains one of the most fascinating in NBA history. The truth behind the championships and legendary teamwork shows that even greatness on the court doesn't always translate to friendship off it. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit like and subscribe to Dunk's Legacy for more inside stories from basketball history. The tension between Pippen and Jordan reminds us that legacies are complicated. Fans often see the highlight reels, but not the personal struggles behind the scenes. By understanding these dynamics, we get a fuller picture of the human side of basketball legends. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on the latest NBA insights. Even with their estrangement, the respect for each other's talent is undeniable. Both players changed the game and inspired generations of athletes worldwide. Pippen's candidness gives fans a rare glimpse into what it's like to share a dynasty with one of the greatest athletes of all time. These stories are as thrilling off the court as the moments on it. Understanding the nuances of the Pippen-Jordan relationship helps fans see that, even in peak performance, challenges exist behind the scenes. It's a lesson in teamwork, ego, and human emotion. Even after years apart, their story continues to spark conversation among fans, analysts, and players alike. It's a reminder that every legend has untold stories. Support the channel by liking this video and subscribing to Dunk's Legacy. To explore more untold NBA tales. At the end of the day, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan's legacy is more than wins. At championships, it's about perseverance, greatness, and complicated human relationships. If you love this breakdown, smash that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment about what you think of this story. Dunk's legacy brings you the stories behind the legends.